The Passionate Ghost Town. Sunday, October 26, 2025. I gotta turn this noisy thing off. Oh, but it feels so good. It's getting colder in Georgia. I'm a passionate person. That has caused problems for me throughout my life. I live in a world that is void of passion. I see so many pretty women in American society that have that moody, unpleasant look on their face. And they're not enjoyable. I don't know why so many women that are pretty are moody. There is a direct correlation between highly attractive women and moodiness. And the other word for that starts with the B word. They're not passionate. They're ugly. Their mopey countenance, their moodiness. Everybody has to walk on eggshells around them. And we've all been duped. As a man, they're on the front cover of the magazines. They got us used to them. Mademoiselle, Elle, Cosmopolitan. But when you meet these women, they have no passion. They're going to spend $900 or $2,000 on a handbag. They get all excited about a frappe latte for $88 at Starbucks. Women get more excited about a dog than a human. Talk to it like it's a baby. Call it their fur baby. Call it their child. I have a right to talk about this because I'm suffering as a result. There's something wrong with a lot of women in American society. They're rude. They don't have to be polite in the workplace. They get away with it. We men do that, it's over. Good morning, Bluegrass. Can I be heard? Is there any sound? Yes, I saw the comment. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Bluegrass. How are you? Somebody texted me. I was responding to the comment. And Bluegrass, this is by no means directed at you. Thank you. I got up the live stream last night, Bluegrass, and got a threatening text message from a fan from her husband. And she had contacted me a couple months ago as a channel. We talked, nothing inappropriate. She hadn't been around for over a month. Amen, Monte. Free Israel, absolutely. And without getting into all the particulars, Husband sent a text saying, Ricky, lose this number. I'm being facetious, but he said, you think you got problems? I'll make more problems with you. And I wrote back, I said, you're threatening me? I said, your wife asked me to chat. So I talked to her. I have no problem losing her number. But I said, threatening me is not necessary, sir. That's a bit much. She hasn't been in here for a while. And I'm trying to avoid drawing attention to her because I don't know if she is responsible for that or what. But blocked her on the phone, blocked her on Discord. She's the one that pursued me. Pursued meaning wanting to talk. Yesterday's conversations, and there were past ones, she indicated there were problems. They're taking care of a relative that's really not their responsibility, and it's causing some tension between the two of them. And I gave her advice because I figured that's what was reasonable, and said, well, he needs to stand up and say that, hey, I've got a wife to tend to. Your son needs to take care of you. We need our own place. They had wanted to live down here. I thank God I didn't bring them down here. Guy going to threaten me and they're going to do that in my house? I don't think so. Hello, stars. Hello, deal. Bill Grass, are you on my Discord? I could tell you privately, but I don't want to shout it out here. Unless this goes further and it becomes a problem. But I contacted one of my moderators last night, called him on the phone, and he said that was totally uncalled for, the threat. So I did a live video without chat and said, women, if you're married, come to the stream, come to the chat, but don't talk to me about your personal problems. Don't contact me. Here I thought Monte was for Israel. What the heck? Thank you, Bluegrass, for taking care of that. And I'm going to tell you, I don't take kindly to somebody threatening. I haven't done anything worthy of that. Maybe you need to grab your manhood and straighten out the friction and tension that's being caused by your lack of leadership, but don't threaten me. And I had told her, I'm not comfortable with a married couple moving into my home. I said it creates a very disjointed, awkward situation. I'm the head of my house. He's the head of you. Men don't need to live with other people when they're married. It doesn't work. I was married, and through some poor decisions on my part, we moved out of Denver, came back to Denver. She had called one of her female friends and allowed us to crash in the living room for a couple weeks till we found another place. And I'm going to be very honest with what I say. She had an exercise bicycle in her room and saying you can use it, whatever. And she had no bra on, and she was riding on it, and you could see the nipples poking through. And, I wasn't particularly attracted to her. She was slender, but, when women start showing hardware, it does arouse. And I was in a passionless marriage. Would you believe that I didn't act on it? We got our own place. And then my wife, my then wife, and her had a falling out. And then I divorced 2007. 2012, I moved back to Denver and I looked her up. They still had a dang phone book. Looked her up, called her. She invited me to dinner. She was very well off. She fixed me a very nice dinner. And we made love. And I wasn't in love with her. I had all this passion in me. And I hate to say this, but deep down inside, there was a bit of wanting to get back at my ex. She doesn't to this day know that I've done that. It's none of her business. And I felt bad when I left and drove home. I said, Mike, that was stupid. And I didn't contact her again or see her. Our society's screwed up. We are screwed up. Yeah, Bluegrass. Absolutely. Hello, Brayson. And I was just this morning struggling with my same old fleshly lusts. And I know what part of the problem is. I do. I go to work. My job is a job. My job isn't like exciting, like, wow. It's not a drudge. But I'm a passionate worker. Even if I don't want to do something, I'll get it done and out of the way. Another thing, didn't line the zipper up right, push this closed. That's really gay. Another gay bag by Bare Naked. And I'm not perfect. And I'm human. And I make mistakes. And as men, hello, Jeffrey. Hello, Wisdo. And Bluegrass, you've always been cool, by the way. If you listen to that video I did last night, do not take that I'm talking about you. I do not act Christ-like all the time. And I'd love to be able to tell you all that I am perfectly God-honoring in all my thoughts, my words. Last night I wanted to go downtown. I didn't do it. And my reason, I was going to do a live and wear that outfit that I wore last night. Bluegrass, I went shopping and I bought $20 worth of outfits, $2 a piece. They were all women's clothing, and yet a couple of them looked really good on me. One was an oversized Asian button-up with the little sash shirt with the dragons. People can say what they want, but it could be worn by male or female. And I'm still experimenting with clothing. I don't want to look like a sissy femi boy. But yet, I'm not happy with the clothing choices for us men. Thank you for that, Bluegrass. I bought 4 cotton shirts yesterday, one with the tag on it. A couple of them were pink. One was Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Looked like it never been worn. One was an Aloha Hawaii shirt. Another one was a purple New Orleans with the little, not sequins, but the little rhinestones. Thought, why does the nice looking stuff have to be reserved just for women? Look at men's fashion today. I actually saw a t-shirt in there that was black. And it had like printed on it was like the over jacket and the tie and the white shirt underneath. I said, I ought to buy that and say, this is as close to suit and tie as I get, but it was too small. The lady was nice. I said, $2. I said, for each one of these items. $2. You go to the Goodwill, they're $5 for, I call it a bowling shirt. They're catering to the culture down here. They're not the kind of shirts I wear. Most of them are polyester. And if you've ever been around somebody who sweats in a polyester shirt, welcome to Funkasaurus. So I didn't waste my money. I'm not going to throw them in the burn barrel because they're nice shirts. I have some fetishes and some weirdness about me because of our society. It is wisdom. Let me show you, Bluegrass. You didn't get to see it. But, yeah, I bought some clearly feminine things, but I actually enjoyed shopping there because I went to the other flea market that I haven't been to in a long time. And I'm going to go more. This is the Asian silk. It's not a dress, but it almost looks like it. I think this is a nightie, but I love it. I love it. And, yeah, I bought myself some ridiculous foolishness too. That's for wearing around the house, but this was awesome. Virtually brand new. I don't care if it's purple and got sparklies on it. I do not care. This is a nice Myrtle Beach oversized shirt. But $2 a piece. This had the tag on it. Yeah, I know you would. And you know what? One of these days I might get to date a woman where we can fight over my clothing. That'd be awesome. And this is a dress. But the colors, you can see some of my shorts yesterday. It looks good on me. People at first thought it was a shirt because I just showed from here on up. And, you know, the Scottish wear kilts and play bagpipes. I would never wear a kilt. That just doesn't ring with me. Yep, Myrtle Beach. Why does Myrtle Beach suck? Now, I was in the Roses yesterday. If I can get this thing in here. And I was at the register buying my stuff, and what the heck was I talking to the black lady about that rang me up? I said something about, I love these ginger chews. I said, I'm addicted to them. And she said, man, a lot of people are. They come in here and buy these. I said, I know. Sometimes I come in here and your supply is totally wiped out. So I bought 2 big bags. Thank you, Bluegrass. Yeah, shoot. If we were dating, we could both wear them. That's what's fun. And I don't think that's weird. Man, I remember when I was in school, a girl wanted to wear my hoodie or my Letterman's jacket. I felt proud of that. But a white woman came up to get her stuff. Oh, and I said, I'm glad the weather's getting cooler. And the lady ringing me up said, yeah, me too. It's just too hot. I said, I've been out here 6 years. and this dang heat, I still can't get used to it. And the white lady said, let me guess, if you were to go to Florida, you'd be the one in the ocean. I said, absolutely. I said, I need to make it to the Atlantic. I grew up on the Pacific. I need to go to Savannah. She goes, Myrtle Beach. I said, how about Tybee? She goes, Myrtle Beach. I said, well, I've heard some good things. Myrtle Beach. And the black lady started laughing. She goes, wow, she's just flat out telling you Myrtle Beach. I said, what do you guys know about Tybee? And she cut me off again. Myrtle Beach. Y'all going to be shocked at what I tell you. Left the store. The woman goes out, I go out. She goes, the reason I told you Myrtle Beach is because Tybee's kind of trashy. I've actually heard people here say Tybee was better because it wasn't pricey and as touristed as Myrtle. Really? Well, you know what, Johan? A lot of the people that I worked with at Trashportation, they went to Myrtle Beach. And basically, I'm not trying to be rude, but basically it was for having sex and getting drunk. I'm not into tourist areas. I grew up in California. The whole state is a tourist area. I'm tired of all that. That's why when I went to see the friend I had on Facebook in Valenzuela City, it was awesome. I was nowhere near tourism. Until we went to Little Venice down in Manila. Then it was white people everywhere. But in the village, I was truly the minority. One. You're not going to see a tourist come through there. It's a barangay. It's a neighborhood. It's a village far removed from the glitter and glamour of what tourists would go to. Tourists will get off a cruise ship, go to a 5-star hotel and say, oh, we experienced the Bahamas. No, you didn't. You stayed in the cruise ship owned areas. When I went to the Philippines, I went to the Philippines. I didn't go to Manakati and Cavite, where all the tourists go. I didn't go to Boracay or Cebu. I went to a normal, working class, struggling world. And I'm going to tell you, I got more out of that than I ever would the hot spots. Oh, the Black Sand Beach, they got them in Hawaii. It's volcanic material. Tybee Island, from what I've seen, and I know what the white woman was saying, Tybee is what I've seen is it sounds like the working man's island. There's actually modest homes like mine on it. It wasn't a big tourist spot back in the day, so black people and other people lived out there. And I don't like ghetto, but I want to say something. Mob told me a story yesterday, and I believe that he would not be offended at me sharing this. He went to a oil change place. His son Sandman was there, and he bought a truck. Couldn't get the hood open. And one of the staff came up and pulled the handle, and I guess you have to pull the handle under the dash twice on that unit. He didn't know that. He got his oil changed and paid for it, went to leave, and Mob is standing there, and a black girl and some whites are sitting there talking shit about Sandman. He said, Michael, years ago, I would have went off and I would have been in jail. I said, did you tell him that was... He said, I did. I said, that's my son you're talking about. Give me my truck. I'm not doing the oil change. This is not okay. He went down to a road to another chain, told the gentleman what happened, and the guy says, I'm going to give you a free oil change, and I'm going to put a written complaint about that store. Wisdo, you are absolutely right. And some people get mad at that. I do like the Philippines. I don't know if I'd want to live there day in and day out. We talk about Georgia heat. One day out of my 2 weeks, I wasn't feeling very well. And it's humid in Southeast Asia, but I don't remember the humidity being a problem that day. The wind was blowing and it felt like a desert wind. I was upstairs laying on a bed. By the way, the bed is not like what you think. It is not a frame and a mattress. It is built out of scrap wood platform that they've got a mattress maybe that thick. And I'm looking out the window, banana trees up against the back of the house. And the banana leaves are like this wide and 10 feet long. And I'm watching. Gloria says, you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's some sort of a bug. So I pretty much laid around that day. And I remember thinking, I don't feel good. I just want to go back to Colorado. Woke up the next morning, I was perfectly fine. I said, Gloria, get your brother and your sister and your niece and nephew. We're going to Mall of Asia. What? You feel better? I said, yeah. I didn't come here to lay around. Let's go. Boy, that's all I need to do is drop that. We take it for granted here. You can get in your car and truck and go to the mall. It's a 3-hour trip to the mall. 31 miles. And the traffic is so congested that you don't just get there in 15 minutes or 10 minutes. The journey in the Philippines is where the joy is. Trust me. You ride a tricycle, you ride a jeepney, you get on a bus, then you hit the LRT, which is their overhead train. And it's packed like sardines. I remember little Ami, the niece, was leaning against me, and she leaned up against me and fell asleep. We were standing, and I had one arm holding the rail and one arm holding her, and she literally crashed out. I mean, it was a trip. And we went to Chow Fan, my favorite fast food restaurant, because they had fried rice, and I'm addicted to that stuff, and the spring rolls. And, the kids, and of course her brother and sister were close to Gloria's age, and they don't just get to go. They can't afford all the jeepney rides. I noticed that day I spent a lot of money on transportation. I don't even remember what it was. And I said, Gloria, I just noticed something. I said, I'm paying the same price for transportation that I would in the U.S. for gas. She goes, yeah, it really went up. And you multiply that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then the girlfriend came one time. We did it twice. That's 7 fares. That's spendy. And yeah, you can get by cheap in the Philippines unless you're riding around on all that stuff all the time. They don't have bus passes. You pay as you go. Yeah, I mean, mostly America. I lived in Hong Kong, been in the Philippines twice, a night in Japan. Made us several day trips to Macau. I like certain things about the Philippines, but I wasn't working when I was there. Village curfew is 10 o'clock. Man, it is noisy. You hear some drunk Filipina down the street with her karaoke going, my endless love. And you're like, oh my word, she's lost it. Gloria's laughing. Yeah, listen, she drunk. The roosters and the dogs, nonstop. Are you really, Aloha? What are you doing over there? You're funny, Wisdom. I'll have breakfast after I gorge on my granola. But I wanted to say this. I love the Philippines. But the grass always looks greener, but when you're there, I noticed something in Gloria's village. I said, Gloria, let's take a walk. Why? I said, I want to see your village. She said, Mike, I never walk in my own village and I don't want them to think I'm showing you off. I said, if they asked, tell them I wanted to see. Lots of women without bras doing the laundry by hand out front of their place. And I noticed something. It wasn't like Mutiny on the Bounty where the sailors showed up at the island. There's all these beautiful, vivacious, stacked women smiling with long hair. It was smaller chested, long black hair women that did not look very happy. I paid very careful attention. These people don't have an easy life. I like pickles, and I cannot lie. So you in Shenzhen? Oh, I see that. I never made it up there. But as I spent 2 weeks in her barangay, her village, her neighborhood, they have a struggle there. They don't get in the truck on Friday and say, oh, let's go to the movies, let's go out. That's not that kind of a culture. Virtually nobody has an automobile. Some, if they're fortunate, have a scooter or a motorbike, as they call them, cheap Chinese motorcycles. And when you're in traffic, you got to watch it. Because the bikes are trying to get around all the vehicles and you're stepping out and the one place you can step and here comes a sea of motorbikes and scooters and you're like, shoot, I got to watch what I'm doing. But there's things that are cool. The markets are fun because it's the real deal. Beautiful girls, yes. Gloria and I were on a jeepney. I had my arm across the back. Around her, a young lady got on. She sat next to Gloria. She put her arm right up on top of mine. And I could feel her fingers touching my skin. I didn't jerk my arm away. Gloria saw it. She smiled at me. We got off. I said, what was that about? She said she wanted to touch you. She said, even though I'm a Filipino and I'm proud, I don't trust my own people. Michael, if she could take you for me, she would. And I said, I wondered why she put her arm right on mine. Michael, so many girls here, the guys, they don't want. And a lot of them like a foreign man. Yep. Aloha, what are you doing over there? Are you teaching? I'd love to go to Antarctica, but I'm certainly not going to wear what I have on. I couldn't even go in a t-shirt there any time of the year. I have to dress like a dang polar bear. Wow, Aloha. That's interesting. And that's one of the things that I noticed. And I'm not singling out the women that are my regulars, but the women were friendlier to me in Asia than they are here. Pretty women. I'll say it again. I go to Hong Kong. Oh, Hong Kong's changed. But if I spent a week in the Philippines, if I dared to go there by myself, not to meet somebody, rode jeepneys and stuff, I guarantee you it wouldn't be long that somebody would come on to me. I would be shocked if I didn't have a girlfriend within a week of landing there. I've been here 6 years, plus over 7 years, no date. The few women I've had an interest in here that were slender and attractive didn't materialize into a date. Game playing, stuck upness, rudeness. And I want to say that. Why is that? Why is it that good looking women are like a purebred dog? They're finicky, they're fussy, they're high maintenance. They don't have a good disposition ever. Wow, Aloha. No, it's not. I'm a stud, Wisdo. You could go over there if you treat them with respect. You get a date. I'm amazed at the dating sites. And read the average woman's profile in the U.S., and it is selfish all the way. Their first thing starts off with I, which grammatical and literary, you want to avoid I. I want a man who, and these women have all these requirements for us, but none for themselves. I told you the story about an obese woman in Spokane that put up a post. She was not pretty. A white woman, her arms were that big around. She was very obese. And as I found out, her inside was as ugly as a lung cancer infected lung with black coal dust. I read her thing. I was just curious to see. I used to read the Craigslist ads. I do not want to date an obese man. I find that disgusting. And I looked at her photos. I'm like, girl, you're fat. I wrote her. I said, I'm not interested in you, but I read your post and I think it's interesting. You don't want to date an obese man, but you're not exactly slender. And I wasn't nasty. Man, she must have been sitting on her computer. I got a response just like that. She hit the caps lock. And F you. I'm not obese and blah, blah, blah. And you're probably a big, ugly, fat man and you're just mad because you can't get a date. And I wrote her, I said, actually, I'm very slender and in shape. But I said, I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in Asian women. I just saw your post and I had to respond because You're saying you don't want men that are obese, and yet you're obese. She wrote back with more F you and said, don't write me again or I'm going to turn you in. I said, when a woman bosses me, I do it one more time. I said, oh, don't worry, I won't write you again. I said, I'll block you now. But I said, there's nothing you can do. I responded to your form. I'm not harassing you. I'm just stating a fact. I said, good luck getting a date. Anybody gets to know you is going to run for the hills. And then I blocked it. Like, it's amazing how many women get on there and think they're all that in a bag of chips. It's disgusting. Hello, Mr. Hinkle. Are you married to a Chinese or Filipina? Asian women are awesome. Now, there's a problem with when you, as a foreigner, go to any culture, you have to make sure that woman's not catfishing or gold digging you. Now, that's awesome, Aloha. That's awesome. Man. Michael Nelson is a gluttonous pig on the internet. That's good. So, Aloha, are you American? Did you get Hong Kong ID? Or tell me about that, I'm curious. I cannot get Hong Kong ID. I'd have to spend $6 million, which I don't have, invested into Hong Kong solely. Man, if I had $6 million in my name, I wouldn't give a dime to Hong Kong. That's awesome. Yep, Wisdo, I agree. When I lived in Hong Kong, there was a lot of fun stuff, but there was a lot of sad things too. The relationship I went over there was a catastrophic failure. And part of that was my own fault because I saw the red flags and I chose to ignore all the warning lights. Usually what we do when we're in heat for a woman. So, you're in Shenzhen. I have a friend. He dated a university professor in Guangzhou. He taught English for 6 years. Very involved with Joan. I met Joan on Skype. I used to talk to both of them. Pretty Chinese lady. She was very loyal to the CCP, and that caused problems with my friend. My friend's mother actually came to China to visit him, which I thought was laudable. And then Joan came back to the US. I find it interesting the way our society is wired. If you want to know about something that should make you shiver deep down inside, if you really think you're getting an education at a four-year university, ask yourself this question. Why is it I can get accepted if I'm in the school circuit? I could get accepted to a university in Beijing. A Beijing student can come to a university in the US. And she could come over here and visit and get a visa because she was a university professor. What's up with the school passport? You know, the colleges and the universities on a worldwide level are all pushing the same thing. Socialism, communism, godless evolution. I'm not making that up. That's the dang truth. If you're in the educational system, you got rights. She could come over and visit. I noticed that Ellie was in here talking yesterday, and I missed some of it until somebody pointed it out to me. Something about coming over to see some fitness instructor. She needs to be very careful because she's still young and impressionable, and she's going to find out that if a guy's bringing her over, he's going to enjoy the sexual aspect of her, and that relationship's going to get old real fast. And I had to find out the hard way. There are some Filipinas that, because she had said in here, I don't want to go to the U.S., I don't want to go to the U.S., and now all of a sudden, and you have to be careful because there are some people over there that you don't know what is truth with them. I found that out. When the woman I went over there for turned out to be a complete turd in a punch bowl, I threw all caution to the wind. I said, well, I got 5 months left on till I can fly out of here. And I might as well just do whatever I want. So I caroused around Hong Kong and had quite a wonderful time feeding the flesh. And one of the gals I dated named Jenny, out of all the girls I dated, she and I had the most passionate lovemaking I've experienced ever with a woman. And she come over on a Saturday, her day off, and the two of us were in heat every time. One of the best lovers I've ever had. She'd be on me, her hair spilling down into my face, and I loved seeing her get aroused, and I loved it when she was leaning over me. It was intense. It was passionate. To hear her say my name over and over, I'm like, wow, this woman was really into it, and so was I. She wore me out, and I'm energy. It was so deeply satisfying that when I was done, it was the middle of the day. I'd go to sleep, and I'd come to, I don't know, hour, 2 hours. She'd be leaning over me, her hair spilling down on me. I said, what are you doing? Watching you. I said, why are you watching me? She goes, I love looking at you. You really move me, Michael. I said, you do too. You knocked me flat on my butt. And we'd go to Llama Island and go walking, and we'd go to dinner. Then one of her friends comes up one day trying to start a fuss with me at the karaoke. She comes up and puts her finger. I said, what are you doing? I hear you've been talking about it. I said, I haven't talked about you. I said, I don't really even know you. I said, Jenny told me that you were trying to tell her why you with that American. And she told me you're a lesbian and you want her to try you. And she said she's not interested. She goes, she said that? Yeah, she did. I said, what do you got against me? She goes, I don't have anything against you, but I heard some of the foreigners. I said, well, but she's coming back and telling me. I said, and then you come up and touch me. I said, I'm going to tell you something, ma'am. Woman or not, you don't shove my chest. I'll throw your ass down those stairs right now. And who's going to believe who? This is Hong Kong. They're going to believe me as a visiting American over you as a domestic helper. Don't put your hands on me again. She was very manly. My friend Luna came out and said, well, I said, stay out of it, Luna. I got this. She goes, she's married? I said, no, she isn't. Yeah, she have husband in Iloilo. I know because I live there. I said, well, that's interesting. She never told me. She goes, yeah, because she lied to you. She goes, I'm sorry for touching you. I'm sorry, I misunderstand. I said, it's okay, I forgive you. I never saw Jenny again. I had to learn over there. There was some squabbles and there was some BS that went on. I had a belief that the Filipinos were much better and that they all got along and they were these happy, wonderful. Not all. Not all. I never drank, Wisdo. I don't like alcohol. I don't drink. But I compromised all my convictions over there. I did. The sex was awesome. The best I've ever had in my life. There's only a couple of women in America that I really enjoyed making love with. One was literally just a spontaneous tryst a couple times in Lakewood, Colorado. You know, you get older and your mind starts to work better. What do you mean by that, Aloha? You can't put the weight of a failed relationship on a city. What do you mean by that? I don't blame Hong Kong for that. Hi, Sharon. When I got a threat text, all it did last night when I did that video is it made me realize, you know what? Why is it that I'm well-meaning, well-intentioned, and a woman talks to you. She did say she was married. I didn't come after her that way. And then she starts letting her guard down and says, well, I'm alone. And yes, there's tension because this us taking care of another relative is affecting our relationship. And I said, no, I know that. And I said, your husband needs to put your marriage first. This grandmother has a son. Why isn't he taking care of her? You know, and they don't have their own place. And my mind goes into mental overdrive, and I talked to Mr. E-Rock about it. Mr. E-Rock and Mob are my go-to men. Those two have some of the soundest minds ever. Ever. Sharon, good to see you too. Thank you for coming in. I said, man, did I do wrong by giving her advice? Did she throw me under the bus? He goes, I don't think she did it deliberately, but she probably heard what you said. It could have been anything. She would have said, well, Mike talked to me and said this, this, and this. And of course, he being a man got upset. Felt like his marriage was under attack. Man, I ain't going to take your wife, bruh. I'm not doing that. I don't want somebody else's goods. I mean, she's attractive. And I told her, I said, you're attractive. If you were single, I would probably ask you out, date you. But I told her, I said, if things were good in your marriage, you would not be contacting me. I really believe that. So that asks the question, can married men be friends with single women? No, they can't. And people would argue with me all day long. Can married women be friends with single men? No, they cannot. It doesn't work because there's an unbalance. Couples can be friends, but even then you have to be careful. Even then you have to be careful. Thank you for that, Aloha. Yeah, I got a lot of criticism. I got a drawer full of these, and I did not throw those away because they were cheap. And I thought, I don't wear wife beater shirts. Hello, Justin. Welcome. And I get frustrated because that angered me. I'm getting a threat. I'm like, whoa, dude. You're above and beyond. And E-Rock said, no, that was totally unacceptable. He's lashing out at you. And I blocked the number, blocked Discord. Man, don't be putting me in your crap. Hello, Colette. But I don't believe that single men can be friends with a married woman. I just don't think that's, you know, I remember my dad, we had a camper, a big slide-in camper. Eleven and a half foot long. It hung over the front of the truck, over the cab. And the camper manufacturer, in later models, they had mounted on the camper, on the corner post, a jack. You put the tool in it and you could lower the legs down and jack up one side, then the other side, and then slide the truck out from under it. Then you rest it on some blocks. But not this camper. It was a tripod. We had two on one side of the camper. It was a circular tube mounted to the frame of the overhang over the bed rails. And on the other side, it was one in the middle. And as a kid, it used to make me nervous watching my dad. It was a corkscrew, and you worm gear, and you had the wheel that worm geared it up. I said, that is so unstable. You got one jack on this side, that big heavy thing. You got the two. And there's a point of which, that thing could tip so easy. Why did they give three things? And they were on a tripod base. I thought, man, that is the worst you could do. And then the newer campers came out with the posts mounted to the corners, which made sense. But you cannot, and me as a single guy, I thought, she is attractive. I can't have an attractive woman who's married living in my house. That's an awkward situation. If I had to address anything going wrong in this house, then you got him being the man over her. And just that text made me realize I am so glad I did not have them move down here. And that is why, and I'm going to say it again, somebody was in here saying they wanted to come out and visit me. No. E-Rock and Mob, they're married. They're trustworthy. They came down to see me. And I don't want to sound rude. People think that I'm gay because of what I wear. Not only am I not gay, I don't want men in my house outside of somebody I know is totally trustworthy. I don't trust a lot of people. People have motives. Women have motives. Men have motives. I've learned over the years when people are really, really nice to me, that's when there's a little gauge on the dash of my mental truck that says, keep an eye on this one, sport. Keep an eye on that one. I've learned in life that the people who are the nicest to me at the beginning end up becoming mortal enemies. The ones that aren't so nice, and I'm like, man, that person really getting on my nerves, end up becoming those that have my back in the long haul. I remember that at Mammoth. Lisa Acappucci, drop dead gorgeous girl. She was a B word to me. No reason. One day we were in class in high school and she started telling me while we were able to have free time about a boyfriend of her broke up. She was sad. And I said, really? Yeah, he told me I was a whore. I said, a whore? I said, I've never seen you slutting around the school. I said, you're beautiful. We got along real good. I should have just asked her butt out, but we were moving and I moved to Prescott. Lisa Acappucci was a royal B word. And when she let her guard down and let me in, it would have been easy for me to say, I will make you my queen. It's weird because it's 2025 and Michael's still alive. It's weird because the world has shifted so much. I never learned Morse code, but I tell people I'm kind of stuck in the wireless radio room on the Titanic. I can get that. Deet, 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 deet. Advanced technology trips me up. We had somebody at work the other day bang into somebody's pickup with the truck for moving the trailers around. 2019 Ford model F-150 broke the taillight on the driver's side. Company paid for it. Do you know what that stupid taillight cost? Take a guess, folks. Taillight. You know the taillight. That's the brake, backup light, turn signal, running lights, whatever. Guess how much it costs to replace that? No damage to metal, just the light, just the lens. Try $2,300. There's a sensor back there that tells you when you get close. That was damaged. Then the bracket around it, $2,300. And my supervisor said, yep, that comes out of our profit share. And I'm like, huh? That should come out of his profits. We have no control over somebody driving on the lot and smacking into stuff. That bothers me. At 2019, I will never buy a new Ford. What a waste. I really get mad at the Democrats when they say preserve the earth and screaming and yelling about climate change. And they had a store in Spokane that I went to. It was called Huckleberries. It was a health food store, but it had a dine-in restaurant. It was kind of like that restaurant. I don't know if it still exists. They had some in Minneapolis called The Good Earth. Organic and non-GMO and whatever. Pricey. Good restaurant. I was there once in Minneapolis. And Huckleberries was like that. They had chicken and they had food and it was good. And I loved to eat there. It was a treat. I'd buy my healthy stuff. But I noticed something. All the women that went in there, I agree, Wisdo, it's stupid high. And I think that should come out of his profit sharing, not ours. But that's their rules, not mine. And everything's recycled. I watch these women get out of their expensive Range Rovers. Have you seen these Range Rovers? They are nothing like the National Geographic. Remember the Toyota Land Cruisers? It was Toyota's version of a Jeep. Those things were pretty well built. You used to see them in the background of National Geographic in the Serengeti. I saw one that had a rhino horn, went right through the driver's door. It pierced that metal skin like it was nothing. The horn just went. Boom. I wouldn't take a Range Rover that they make today into Africa. I wouldn't do it. Hello, Draxnar. Hello, Kevin. How are you? These women would pull up in these high-priced SUVs, get out of their little SUV with their cloth tote bag. I'm doing my part to recycle. Hell, that SUV's doing a good job of preserving the environment. $80,000 and takes more gas. More plastic crap was made in a factory. Plastic, by the way, is horrible. Everything is plastic. Everything. Body spray. everything. We throw so much plastic away and it is not recycled. Ends up in the ocean. And I'm here to tell you that these women that went into Huckleberry's were not nice. They were good looking. They were slender. Paying too much for health food. They got a Dream Ride SUV. Liberals. So, forgive me. I don't have a college degree. But I look at that and go, the ones screaming about preserving the earth are the ones that are living in a strange dichotomy of doing very well. None of them owned a Prius or a plug-in car. They're driving gas-guzzling vehicles, not little Hondas. I actually preserve the environment more than they do. They want a house, they get a remodel team to come in. Me, I bought this house, I was recycling studs, knotty pine and stuff that I could reuse. I'm like, those studs are still good, but I'm moving that wall. If the nails pull out straight, I reuse nails. I laugh when I hear liberals talk about preserving the environment. They're the least likely. Go to any city where there's a lot of littering and you will find it's not red. Here in Augusta, I see the usual suspects throwing trash and litter out of their windows on a regular basis. You know, those anti-Trumpers, the pro-George Floyd crowd. Wow, they're really doing their part to preserve things. They go down the street here not too far from the house and throw their used tires in the swamp and mattresses. Even though you can put out mattresses on trash day and have a truck come around and pick up that stuff. Tires you can take to the dump. There's limited times. But instead, they're too lazy and throw them in the swamp. It's too bad there's not a way to recycle tires and do something with them. I'd go down there, put some boots on, and grab them all. I'm talking it's only a swamp when the rain floods the area. Chances of gators in there are slim. But there's a couch they threw in there. It has turned black. It was white. I said, good Lord. They did not throw it off the truck. They carried it in through the trees. And I said, oh my gosh, that'd be funny to get some mannequins, have the legs crossed with the wigs on, and then have a like an old TV cabinet and a stand in front, coffee table. People drive by and it looks like a family watching TV, a swamp thing. So funny. Bluegrass, are you still in the house? Why is the chat froze? And back to women. You know, it took me a long time to learn. You see a woman driving a nice ride, don't even think you're going to get a date with that. The only kind of woman I'm going to get a date with is somebody who's looking at me with as a life preserver for them. Their finances are a mess. Their kids are a mess. Their life is a mess. And they want me to be the fix-it man. Wow, what has happened to the stream? There we go. And spinning my tires. You know, I'm not into fast cars, but that's me. I'm into trucks. $2,300 for a taillight, though. Wow. from plastic. Although I've got a good wife, he's been married 6 years and he's still happy. It is expensive. That was just for the parts. Friday was not a good day for our supervisor. A couple of employees got into a quarrel. They were dismissed and sent home. The whole onset of this video is the Passion Ghost Town Society. That's right, Aloha. And I have a lot of passion. And that's why I struggle with porn. Specifically, porn that's even more taboo. I look at lesbian porn because it's amazing how incredibly erotic two women are with each other. They're very erotic. Yes, I know it's a sin. I know the Bible says it's a sin. And I come back to things, people like to get up on Sunday and say, this is wrong, but nobody wants to talk about how we got there. People want to quote scripture, they want to bludgeon somebody with the Bible, and it doesn't work. It shames and guilts people, and they just say, I give up. Do you know everybody in this room watching me, we play a part into how we're going to affect somebody else today? Do you realize that? If you be an ass to somebody, that's going to color their day. When you got all these stuck up young ladies today who think they're all that in a bag of chips, that rubs on me the wrong way. And if you notice something about our society, hey, Angie, how are you? And welcome. You cannot have things affect you and just be neutral. We've all talked about bad drivers, and many people can tell you something happened to them on the road, and they can tell you in detail what happened, how it really made them mad. Aloha, you're a mess. But no, you got people that think more highly of themselves than they ought to. And I stay away from people like that. I'm not into proud people. That's right, Draxnar. And when I go into a business and a clerk is nice to me, I say something. Man, you're good at what you do. Really? I said, yeah, you're pleasant, you're polite. Thank you. We're quick to complain about the wrongs, but are we quick to praise the rights? When I drove a school bus, I learned many years ago, you've got to validate the kids that are trying. If you focus on all the bad kids, the kids that don't do anything will start going, well, wow, all he's doing is yelling at everybody all day. Oatmeal, honey, and butter. Well, thank you for that, Aloha. And the thing is, I have passion, and I see a lot of people that don't. My honest assessment of life outside my doors, people are boring. You can tell. You can tell by certain properties around here, they don't clean up their yard. You can just tell there's no life in these people. They're just dead, walking dead. Somebody at work years ago, black lady, said, I know where you live. I said, well, everybody knows where I live. She goes, no, I didn't know where you live. She described the house on the street. I said, yeah. I said, how'd you know? Mike, I looked at your yard and I looked at what you've been doing to that house. And I said, from what we see about Mike here, yep, that's got to be his place. Mike, your yard is the best looking house on the block. Your yard is awesome. I said, that's the way I've always been. She goes, no, it stands out and that's good. Does our life stand out in a positive? We make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. We sin, but does your life stand out for the better? Oh, Lord, that'd be awesome. My sweet spot is this stuff. Wisdo, you crack me up, man. I got to start getting ready for church. And I'm going to say this. My pastor has made an emphasis, and he does it regularly, that people need to be in church every day that the doors are open. I don't agree with that. I go on Sunday. I don't go to Wednesday and Thursday and all the other times they got things going on, because I'm going to be very brutally honest. I don't want to be around people that have no passion. I don't want to be around people that can't even say hello to me, that are my age. People that are inverted nipples, I call them. They're inverted nipples. I dated a woman in Hong Kong who had nipples that did not point out, but had sunk in. It's a rare thing, but it does exist. We used to joke. She goes, wow, when you suck me, they come out. I said, yeah, I noticed that. She goes, that means you need to suck me regular. I'm telling the truth. I'm not making that up. I miss some of my fleshly lusts in Hong Kong. I'm a grown man. All these women can go out and get sex and do whatever they want anytime they want. Not Michael. And I'm not supposed to anyway. I'm a Christian, right? I'm supposed to be holy. I'm supposed to not have sexual immorality coursing through my veins. But it does. The Bible says it's not good for man to be alone, and I'm alone. And that's a plus. As I get older, it's a plus because I don't have all the drama. Just yesterday with a threatening text, I said, wow, can you imagine if I'd have been nice enough to let them come in and he and I had to have words, and this guy's doing that on a text? Was he going to punch me in the face in my house? That ain't going to go well. That ain't going to go well. And all that did was reinforce to me, do not open up your house to nobody. When I first moved here years ago, I told a friend I had, he's another one. He literally, I don't know what happened. We got along, and one day he just flat out stopped talking to me. And I was like, what in the devil is going on with that? And then somebody told me a year later, you know, he came by your house. I said, well, he knows I'm at work, and, you know, he doesn't talk to me in here, and then he comes by. Strange. Some people, there's just things that happen in life that we don't understand. There were two ladies down here at transportation that were friends. One was a driver, one was a monitor. They got along great. And one day her son died, and that really bothered her, but she quit her job and left. Did not talk to the driver ever again. And that driver told me, she goes, that really hurt me. I said, did you guys have any altercations? She goes, never. I said, that seems a little off. And you hear about that. People just change for no reason. And then you hear the stories about the guy down the street that everybody thought was a nice neighbor, friendly to everybody, and then you find out he's a serial killer. Isn't that comfy? I agree with that, Shay. I'd like to go to a nudist colony sometimes, even though it's fleshly. There's something very freeing about being naked with other people. It's a little bit of a turn on because you're being somewhat of an exhibitionist, and it's kind of racy. And it's funny, as I've gotten older, I feel that. It's weird. As you get older, you kind of lose your inhibitions, which has its pros and cons. What bothers me is church. I go this morning to get instruction. Some people would call it religious instruction. For me, the pastor knows how to break open the Word of God, and I need that. As the years go by, I go, how much of this has changed me, though? You know, when you get older, you get set in your ways. I'm set. I try to be open. I've seen some things over the years before I was old. I said, what is it about older people? They start getting weird. They start experimenting sexually and doing things they wouldn't normally do, and they're walking around half naked. And now I ask myself the same question. Why am I walking around half naked? Why do I wear women's clothes sometimes? What? I don't know why, but it's weird. A lot of men, they go through this weird, it's not a midlife crisis, because I went through that in the 40s when I was first over in Hong Kong. I'm not having a midlife crisis. Now I desire things I didn't desire a long time ago, and I thought, what's wrong with me? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. There's people who get on here, you need mental health. No, I don't. My mental acuity is just fine. I know how to problem solve. I get frustrated, but I will figure out something by the grace of God. Angie, at least you're getting the word. Be careful who you listen to, of course, because there's a lot of crazy ones out there that are distorting the word, which I'm sure you know that. I believe in going to church, but I disagree with my pastor that I should be there every time the doors are open. I would be there more if people weren't so dead as a doornail. And it's bad today. It really is bad. People have shifted. I've always been different. That's a fact. So I don't fit in anywhere, anytime. But even me, I can go back to the late 80s, early 90s. I had a lot of buddies in Duluth. I had a decent church to go to where people actually got excited about God. Now most people in churches are bumps on a log. They hear the pastor's message, they go out to church, and nothing changes. They don't even know how to say hi to each other. They're socially retarded. I saw that in northern Minnesota. You say hi to somebody who's looking at you, and they look at you like you're weird. And a friend of mine said, Mike, you don't say hi to people you don't know. And I said, excuse me? I said, that's what I do. People are going to stare at me and bore down on me. I'm going to say, hey, that was unnerving. Minnesota does have a problem. They're weird. Guys, women. Why is he talking to me? Why are you freaking weird and unkind? You're staring at me. See, I grew up in LA and you all made fun of that, but we were taught not to stare. My sister used to do that or get so mad at that. We were out somewhere and she goes, oh my gosh, that guy's staring. She goes, take a picture, it lasts longer. I said, that's funny. Draxner, I believe we need to read the Bible. I believe we need to go to church. But I also, on the flip side of that coin, see a very dysfunctional church culture out there. And I don't blame my pastor for that. He and his wife are good people. And of course, it's going to be in my pastor's interest to promote church. That's a given. That's a given. But I explained to him, Pastor, there's no reason. I said, I get off of work, I'm tired. I'm not in the mood to sit for another couple of hours. Then by the time I get out of there, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. And now I can't get to sleep because I'm all revved up. And he believes that if I love God more and God is more important in my life, then I will sacrifice. And I'm like, to be around a bunch of people, and he even tried to do the sales pitch that You know, as iron sharpens iron, spurred one another on a good deed. I say the problem is, pastors, too many people want to be my boss. I found this with American Christians, men. Very few men want to actually be my friend and give a crap about me. They just want to play bossy butt. Mike, are you part of a small group? You really need to be part of a small group. You know, hold each other accountable. Well, you know what? I'm not comfortable with it. Well, you know, you should be. No, I shouldn't. If God's leading you to do that, then do it. But I have found over and over that men want to boss me around. They don't care about me. They're not going to. Christianity's become like going onto a used car lot. You walk onto the used car lot, you're looking at a car, truck, and within minutes, hey, how you doing today? I noticed you're looking at that new truck. Yeah, we're just looking. Well, you know, we got to find it. Well, I'm actually just looking right now, and you know, if I have any questions, I'll come and get you. Well, you know, you can test drive it. I said, well, I'll let you know. We're just looking right now. And they keep going and they keep going. And you're just like, you want to say, get the fuck out of here, okay? I'm just looking and you're bothering me. Pardon my French. Christians are just like that. Well, Mike, you need to do this. You need to dot your I's and cross your T's like I think I'm doing. No, I don't. Mike, why are you wearing that shirt? Mike, you're not reflecting Christ. You know what? You're irritating. Shut up. You are being a jerk. You think you're being a trumpet for God, and all you're doing is going, wah, 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 in my ear, and I'm getting tired of that noise. They will know we are Christians by our love. A young man comes onto my channel. On his own admission, he said, do you hate me because I'm queer? I said, no, I don't. I don't hate you at all. I care about him. I prayed for him. If my channel loses sight of that, then I'm just like a lot of other Christians in our little holy huddle. Everybody else is, you know, evil and wicked. How are we going to reach people? Well, I don't agree with your lifestyle, so I can't hang out with you. Hey, I'm not the one doing that. I like the young guy. I said, you're too young to have a fatalist attitude. And you know what? I don't agree with your lifestyle, but I like you as a person. And guess what? If Christians would start doing that, we might warn more flies with honey rather than vinegar. And everybody knows you go to churches, you get those old women and those people who look like they were baptized in lemon juice. They're unpleasant to look at. They're rude. They're not friendly. You got the guy in there that he's talking very spiritual. I walk in the church, he can't even look at me and say, good morning, Michael, how are you today? Virtually nobody in that church, except one woman came up to me who doesn't come often, and she goes, I heard you talk about what happened to you at work, and I just wanted to tell you, I got a son that's on drugs, and I'm really struggling, and I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray that you find a job. You stood up for your convictions, and I said, thank you, ma'am. She's not even a regular attender. Her daughter that goes there has got the fake dyed blonde hair, tattoos all over her, and she'll go, hey, you know, it's just, why do I want to sit in there for 3 hours with people I'm not going to be friends with anyway? In the 80s, at least, I met other Christians, young and old, that got excited about God and things. And back then, that was when the Berlin Wall came down, 1989. Things were electrifying. We had hope. We thought Jesus might come back. That's gone today. And my pastor, I love him, but he's old school. He believes long hair is a sin. I'm not going down that road with him. If he saw me wearing this, he'd have a problem with it. And I don't wear it at church. But if he saw me out there in public and said, Mike, what are you doing? So just wear what I wear. The problem is there's a lot of rules out there that society imposes upon us. This I got in Hong Kong. Aloha should recognize this. They're all over China. Angie stopped paying her tithes. What's that all about? Wow. Draxner, there's books you can read about the Bible. The Bible's actually been preserved pretty solid. But back to people, I think what I'm reading between the lines, I could be wrong. You've been impacted by people too, just like I have. Let us not transpose that onto God. I tend to view God the way my mother was cruel, and I tend to think, oh, I've blown it. God's going to zap me in the butt with a bolt of lightning. We don't realize just how much God loves us. Don't want to go where everybody knows your name? No, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name, and it's like that every day. You go to church, it's a ghost town. There's no excitement in there. Zero. You got an alpha male choir director, bald head. He's younger than me. He's got a pretty wife, and he's got all his kids in subjection to him. He's got a grade school girl. They all dress professionally, and they're all, they move the hands a certain way. It's all prescriptive. They're a family of actors. I'm sorry, I can't deal with that. They're not passionate. She comes up to the missus, hi, how's Mr. Mike doing today? Man, if you call me Mr. Mike, I'm going to not have a good day. I'm not a grade school student. That shit started in the classroom. How you doing, Mike? I'm good. How are you, ma'am? Mr. Mike. And now society's doing that. Are you not hearing that, boys? Girls, are you not hearing that today? How many of you have gone, how's Mr. Jeff doing today? How's Miss Angie doing today? How's Miss Bluegrass doing today? Oh, I didn't know I was going to elementary school today. Teacher. I hate that. It's patronizing. It's devaluing. It's, what's the word I'm looking for? Minimalizing us. I'm a grown man. I'm not Mr. Mike. And if I was a teacher in school, I would not introduce, today, kids, Mr. Mike is your teacher. And I would introduce myself. My name is Michael Nelson. I'll be teaching your 5th grade class. I would appreciate it if you show respect. You can call me by my first name or by Mr. Nelson. But let's show respect, okay, class? Thank you, Scott. We put that on hold a while ago because we were having problems, and that's no reflection on you at all. We have to have a group powwow to decide that now because we had so many complaints. We got a solid team right now, and that's good. Well, hello, Sam. Here's Sammy. Look, I'm learning as I go with the channel. I'm learning as I go with people. I make mistakes with people. I do. And don't you like Angie? Angie, Bluegrass, they're 2 women. I have never seen them do anything in here. Latsa, what's her name? Tanya. Nikki, they've been good moderators. I think we got a good team. I think we got a great team of mods. Sam's been good, and I appreciate that. You go to church, you go to work, you're expected to follow rules at work, and I hate to tell you this, there's rules you need to follow when you drive on a public street with your automobile. Most Americans, when it comes to driving, they go like this to the traffic laws. If you're a Christian, that should not be the way you live. If it says 45, you go 45. If it says 25, you go 25. If there's a flashing yellow light that says school zone, slow the hell down. Don't put all your Jesus stickers. Don't talk to me about how spiritual you are when you can't operate a motor vehicle correctly. Okay? I believe in that. There's some stuff going on in this country with bad drivers, and it's getting worse. I saw a video the other day on YouTube This guy had pulled over. I don't know what was going on, but somebody in front of him was doing something in traffic. Big grown man get out of his Dodge or Ford or whatever it was with a ball bat, come walking back, and this guy who had the camera going on his truck gets out, walks up to the guy, and he puts his hands like this, and he reaches and grabs that bat, wrestles him from him, and goes, throws it, and says, and shoves him on the shoulder and says, get in your truck. He backed his butt up, and I thought that was awesome. That man didn't grab that bat and beat him or his truck. Now that was a man. We need people like that. You're going to come at me with a bat, and he grabbed that bat and boom. Now get. What is the matter with people? I don't like Oprah, but she said something years ago that was true. She said, what is it with people? They dress in suits and ties, they got college degrees, they make good money, have wife, kids, but they get in their car and they become a monster. I've said it. Being in the ministry, being at your job, is not a test of who you are. It's when you get in that car or that truck or that motorcycle. How do you drive? Do you follow the rules? Do you show respect on the roads? Do you yield? Do you keep your following distance? Do you use your blinkers? I swear the black people don't know what a freaking turn signal is. They never use it down here. That's racist. No, that's a fact. You think that you're not required? Looks like you got privilege going on. You know what I call it? Not being conscientious of others. I listened to a woman at transportation. I don't know why people get mad when I don't use my blinker. If they see my brake lights come on, they've got to know I'm about to do something. Yeah, what? Is there something in front of you? You're going to turn left or right? We don't know. How about if I'm on this street here and you're coming from my left and I'm trying to turn and you don't use a blinker? If I see a blinker come on, then I can go. But no, I got to wait because it looks like you're going straight. How selfish. If you're too lazy to operate that little stick on the left side of your steering wheel, God help you. You are a special tool. People don't like to go the speed limit, and they argue with me. Mike, you got to go the flow with traffic. That's not what the books say. And yet, no, it doesn't. People get in that left lane, and it's 65 on the interstate or 75, whatever, and they think they can bully everybody out of the lane. No, it's a passing lane. You do not have the right to get on somebody in that lane going 65, even if they're pitched a tent in it and camping there. You be the professional driver. Pass the car, get over. But no, you got to get up to him and do all your moron stuff. Be the better driver. If you're a Christian and Jesus Christ doesn't change you in basic daily interaction with other humans, then your religion is a joke. Man, don't tailgate people. Even if somebody's going slow, use caution. When it's legal and safe, signal, pass, signal, move. Drive right. Show this world you're not like everybody else. This is why I do what I do. Dress the way you want, do what you want, and be considerate of others. Be respectful to your pastor. Don't fight and argue. I'm not going to fight and argue. He's my pastor. I get a lot of truth listening to him. But it doesn't mean that you on my channel or me as a church parishioner, oh yes, my pastor's my almighty guru. It is not for me to question why, but for me to do or die. No, it isn't. We're individuals. Some people have what's called club rules and not Bible rules. He's a Southern boy. Southern boys don't believe men should have long hair. There's some Southerners that believe that listening to anything with a beat is satanic. Okay, so if you're singing praise music to beat. Better stop clapping them hands because the devil's coming out in every floorboard, people. Ridiculous stuff that people believe. Superstitious, societal, and cultural gut rot. Those same people will get all up on this. Oh, you got to be King James Version only. Oh, you can't listen to rock music. It's of the devil. Mike, why are you wearing that shirt? Mike, that's bad. But they'll get in their car and leave the church parking lot. Ooh. Wow, okay, buddy. My shirt is going to cause somebody to die, right? Me listening to ELO is going to cause somebody to put a knife in their chest, right? Give me a break. Where's the passion? I had a woman years ago, we're not going to bring this up, but people from my former channel know who I'm talking about, Gypsy, who spent a year stalking me on the computer and putting me down when I simply posted a date site seeking an ebony woman. Well, you can determine if I'm ebony or not. Her skin was this color, and she had pictures with no shirt on her and long hair, and I said, wow, she's hot. I don't know why she's got her top off. She listened to one of my videos because I'm not going to go into all this. I sent her a video because she responded with all capitals. I said, here's my phone number, give me a call. I don't want you to have my phone number. I didn't ask you for it. Wouldn't block her number. Kept arguing. I said, here, you know what? Before we go any further, let me have you watch this woman, or this video, Whine, W-I-N-E, Woman in Song. Watch it and see if you and I belong together. Oh my gosh, I watched your video and you're yelling in it. There's something wrong with it. I said, it's called passion, lady. Something that American women aren't used to anymore. Go to the mall and watch women shopping. If you want to see the most awful, boring thing you've ever seen in your life, watch women with other women and buying all their shit and walking through a mall. And then ask yourself, why do you want to date that? Watch them at Starbucks where they're just sitting there acting. You know what? There's no passion in this society. They're just, oh my gosh. I had a friend years ago named Rex, and he was dating a woman named Dawn. They come over to my third floor apartment downtown Prescott. They got on the floor and started wrestling. I said, well, this is pretty awesome. He goes, yeah, we do it all the time. We don't hurt each other. And I said, that's kind of fun. They had an interesting relationship. There was no acting at all. You know what's sad? A lot of people are just boring to be with. And you know why that the channel viewing is growing? Because I'm not boring. I'm not against you doing that, SS. Please don't read into that. But I like to shop too. Not at the mall. I got excited going to the flea market and buying a bunch of clothes for $2 a piece. When Starvation Army is selling me a bowling shirt for $5 and it's got ugly colors, I'm not buying that. Everybody has different things to make the boat float. Wisdo, there's your butter with oatmeal. Or your oatmeal with butter. Or your honey with oats. Honey bunches of oats. Lots of oats. But they don't got their undies in a bunch. I'm not a legend in my own mind. But people listen because I have passion. Because I talk about things in a way and at an angle which a lot of people do not do. I'm not Candace Owens. I'm not Paul Joseph Watson. I'm certainly none of these liberal crackheads. Brian, I'm good. I'm passionate. Michael relaxes when I go to sleep or I'm having an orgasm, but I don't. I'm intense about things, and it needs to be. It needs to be. There's too much lack. There's too much lack. There's a deficit of passion in the pulpit, in life. People follow each other. They copy each other. Not good. People are not being individuals anymore. You know, you go downtown Spokane and the white girls dyed their hair green and they got piercings everywhere. They look like a pincushion. You got the guys with their 666 on their jackets, and you just walking down there feeling like, why do I get the feeling this is not a safe place for me to walk? Because it's not. And you look at Portland and you look at all the freaks out there protesting ICE. What got these white dregs of society suddenly anti-ICE? What have they got? What's in it for them with being pro-illegal? Oh, they're protesters. They just want to riot and rebel and scream about everything. I would not move to Portland. It's an underarm with hair and sweat. Gross. And the fact is, a lot of people try to corral me, put a leash on me. It hasn't worked. My favorite movie is Spirit, Stallion, and the Cimarron. It's a great movie. Watch it sometime. I'm the horse. I only let ride on my back who I let ride on my back. Anybody else tries to get on it, I'm going to buck them off. The wet cornfields, it must be raining over there. Thank you, Brian. I believe I do. Kino, I cut it. It was getting tangled and frizzy, and it was more of a fight, and it was time to clear the deck and start anew. Always be the horse. That's my Chinese birth animal, by the way. All right, folks. I need to put a bow tie on this and wrap it up. Bill and Ted. Thank you, Aloha. Slick back? No, I wouldn't do that. Do it like the 50s, man. Have the bowling style haircut. Well, thank you for that, SNS. I like to think I've still got a little sexy left. I hope I do. But one day that'll fade too. There'll be some old fart rocker going, yeah, back in 2025, I remember it well. You're right, Brian. Sam, thank you. I hope I don't live to be old. I hope I live to hear the trumpet sound. Oh yeah, baby, that's music to my ears. I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of this skin and no more sin. And I got a way out and I'm just going to shout. And this is the way it is. Because now I'm his. And no more struggle, no more pain. And no more fussing over earthly gain. Thank you. Oh, no, it's daytime here, Brian. Time to go to church. Nicole Meyer, yeah, Mike Holm is feeling rebellion and loneliness. Michael, you don't use me anymore. No, Colm, you've been given a reprieve until my hair grows. Yeah, but I've talked it out, Sam. It's like cars. You can only talk about that so much, and then you get to the end of yourself. But I gotta go. Till next.